Hey, Ryan with Premier. So, often get asked questions. What should I be buying for equipment? I'm going to start my own company. Let's talk about a couple of things that are going to happen and things that you might not know about. All right. So, you're getting ready to start a company. What are you looking to buy for equipment? What's the right equipment that you should buy? Well, that all depends on where you are at with experience, where you are at with workflow, and how you're going to be taking this business on. Is it something you're doing on the side while you work a full-time job? Or are you trying to make a full-time push at it? So there's a couple of things that you got to kind of figure out before you figure out what you want to buy. All right. A lot of guys, they start off small. All right. They dip their feet in with some jury rig equipment, or what we call a gypsy equipment. You know, you might have a 55-gallon drum or a tote, a 275-gallon tote, or even, in my case, an oil tank. I had a 275-gallon oil tank that I started with, and just went out of buckets. So it all depends on where you're at. All right, what do you got for money to start? If you're thinking you're going to go out and you're going to spend $10,000 on a brand new spray rig, and you got yourself a trailer, and you just went out and spent all kinds of money on a new truck, and well, you got yourself a $2,500 a month nut that you have to crack. Then when things start to slow down, that payment still needs to be made, and so does your mortgage, and so does your kid's dance class, and so does your wife's car payment. So my advice is get in slow. Start off with a homemade setup. Get out there, start doing driveways. Your family, your friends, those people are going to support you, right? Another big thing too is pricing. How to price jobs. How are you pricing jobs? And that is a good that's probably the first thing that most people should learn, is how are they going to price these jobs, because that's going to dictate how much you have to work. Okay? And I say that because, let's say you're bidding driveways. You can't look at a driveway that is 1,000 square feet and say, well, my price is going to be 20 cents a square foot, because that's a $200 driveway. But 1,000 square foot driveway, in my opinion, is like a $400 driveway. So some people would say, okay, then just make your price 40 cents a square foot. But you can't do that, because then when you got a 10,000 square foot parking lot, yeah, you can be the guy that's $4,000 on a 10,000 square foot parking lot, but with parking lots, you got other stuff, so like crack filling and line striping, and are you gonna have to break it down into sections, and how many times you're gonna have to go there to do it, when are you gonna do it, so when it comes to thinking about pricing and how to price seal coating projects or driveways, I want you to throw out the whole concept that you have in your head of price per square foot as you know it for seal coating. All right, and I want you to start thinking like a big picture of a price per square foot as a job. All right, so not a price per square foot as it relates to a job, but the square foot itself is the job. All right, so when we go to jobs, whether it's a driveway, parking lot, it doesn't matter. We show up, we give a price per square foot, and that price per square foot covers everything within that square foot. So if it needs cleaning, if it needs crack filling, if it needs paint, 2 coats of sealer, we treat each job like it's its own, each square foot like it's its own job. And everything is done within that square foot. And you're going to have customers. and you're going to look at these customers and you're going to tell them, hey, you're going to start having estimates come in. I want you to read the fine print on those estimates, because most of these people are just saying, we're going to fill cracks over 1/4 of an inch by 1/4 of an inch with rubber, and the sealer's going to fill in the rest. Well, that's horse crap. And the customer doesn't know that's horse crap, but that's what these people do. Okay, and how do I know that? Because every spring I call my 3 biggest competitors. I find a residential property, and I work with the person that lives in that residential property, and I find a commercial property. Most of the time it's like a property that's, you know, up for rent or sale or something. I come up with a fake email address. I pretend that I've just purchased this building and I'm going to be rehabbing it. I need to do the seal coating as part of the rehab because I'm going to be renting it out. And, you know, like good seal coating salesmen, they run right out and they give me not only their estimates, but they and some people say that's kind of a scumbag thing to do, but you know, it is what it is. This is a, you know, kill or be killed. You got to know where your competition's at. And I mean, I'm going to be sharing, you know, information with you right now that you know they could use and go run off, and you know, because in my opinion, at the end of the day, it doesn't come down to pricing. You know, whether Joe Schmo is 3 cents more than Tom, Dick, and Harry, it doesn't matter. You know, you're getting hired because of how good your work is, because of the quality of your work. If you're getting hired because you're 5 cents cheaper than anybody else, you're not going to last. You're not going to last too long. And that's the other thing. If you're really thinking like, you know, I gotta have a strategy of how I can, you know, just have the best price, or I can be competitive. Get it out of your head. All right. You don't want to be the best price. You don't want to be competitive. If anything, you want to be the most expensive, and you want to sell that service. You want to sell the differences. And that's what I mean. This is one of those things. So when you go to a customer and you're looking at their job and you're walking around with them, first say, well, hi, we're here to, you know, I need you to come look at my apartment building. You know, just email it to this. No. When are you going to be there? Well, you know, I'm busy this week. Okay. I need to meet with you. All right. And if you're not meeting with these other contractors, you know, you're doing yourself a disservice, because you need to know what's going on out there. So I'd like to meet with you personally, you know, and then if you have to wait a little bit, you wait a little bit, but you get that person. And then while you have that person's attention, you walk around the lot and you point out all the things that the last guy did wrong. All right. See, that line's crooked. Those don't line up. Look at the end of your parking lines. Nothing lines up when you look down the road. See all these cracks? Notice how they only filled the big cracks, but they didn't fill none of the small cracks. I'll bet you if you go back and you look at your contract, it's going to say that they were only responsible for filling cracks over 1/4 of an inch by 1/4 of an inch. And the sealer is going to fill the rest. That's crap. That's horse crap. All right. So this is going back to my one price per square foot. All right. You're walking around that customer, you're pointing out all this shit that this guy did wrong and all the other shit that they did wrong between their crooked lines, and they're not filling half the goddamn cracks. And then you look at them and you go, me? I give you one price per square foot, and I treat each square foot like its own individual job. And everything within that square foot gets taken care of. I fill every single crack. I paint every single line. And that's what you're selling. All right. You're not selling the lowest price. If you're going to these bids, you know, hoping that you're going to win the lowest price, then you have no business being there. And you tell these people when they call, hi, Mr. Joe Schmo Seal Coating. Yes, what's my, okay. Can I ask you a quick question? Is this a apples to apples, or is this low bid wins? And they'll tell you right away, like, no, we're going to bid apples to apples, or we're actually going to look at who's offering what kind of service, you know, because again, the devil's in the details. All right. What good is it if you come up with a price per square foot of, let's say your price per square foot, I'm just using this because it's an easy number, 10 cents, right? You got a price per square foot of 10 cents, and you go, and then on 2 coats you do 15 cents, and you go, hey, you know, I'm doing your parking lot, it's I'll do 2 coats at 15 cents. It's a 10,000 square foot parking lot. It's going to be $1,500. All right. But then XYZ Seal Coating comes in and he goes, well, you know what? I can do this parking lot for $1,200. And but the other guy said he was going to do 2 coats. Oh, we'll do 2 coats too. And then they changed their tip from a 7 to a 3. And the 2 coats that they're doing with a 3 tip still doesn't amount to the amount of sealer that you would have put down had you done it with 1 7 tip. Not to mention, to get it to squirt through that 3 tip, they had to water the shit out of it to thin it out so that it would be consistently. So again, the devil's in the details. This is all stuff as you're walking around with this person, you're pointing out to them. You're telling them that people can manipulate the volume of the sealer that they put down just by how they change their tip. And, you're warning them that the devil's in the details on the price. The devil's in the details on the price. And when when they are getting quotes from other people, I tell people, look, if you're getting quotes that are consistent and you got 2 guys that are around the same, they're you look at their quote and it looks almost the same, meaning you got a price for seal coating, then you got a price for crack filling, even though the price for crack filling is like very vague. Either they're only going to fill over cracks that are over a certain, width, in depth, but even sometimes they'll put in, up to a certain amount of feet. Okay. We all know if you have a parking lot that's 30, 50, 100,000 square feet, that it's very hard to walk around and count every linear foot of crack, right? So what's the best way to protect the customer to make sure the customer gets what the customer wants? Because at the end of the day, yeah, you're running a business and it's about making money, but your first service is to the customer. All right. So it's your responsibility to give that person what they want. It's not your responsibility to think up of some clever way to muddy up the facts so that you can get awarded the job and then do a half-ass job on it so that you can collect the big check. All right. There's a huge margin in this business. There's no reason you can't be doing things 100% correctly. All right. And you don't have to be ashamed of charging what you charge to do it, as long as you're doing or giving that customer the quality that they deserve. So if you came here thinking like, that pricing is as easy as just, this is what I charge a square foot, and this is what my cracks are a square foot, and this is what I charge per line, then I think you should get out of that mindset. I think you should look at everything as though it's a complete project. All right. Now let's say you have driveways where it's not a complete project and you don't have lines and you don't have to do all this cleaning like you would a parking lot. Like, so how do you quote a driveway? All right. Because even if your price is 20 cents a square foot and you have a 800 square foot driveway, I mean, it's $160. Like, I wouldn't get out of bed for $160. I'm not doing, an 800,000 square foot driveway to me is $400 all day long. So, just for the time, and look, is that customer going to get a quote of $220 for that driveway? Maybe from somebody. They probably will. All right. But it's your job to point out all the reasons that driveway is going to be $220. All right. The guy's going to come through with his little weed whacker, and he's only going to trim the grass back with a weed whacker, when you're going to come in with an actual edger and you're going to cut the 3 feet or the 3 inches of grass that have grown over the driveway back, right? You're paying $225. So when the guy gets to the little seam at the end of the road that's all like this, he just takes his brush and he follows that seam. The extra from you is you're actually, going to put masking tape down so that you have this nice razor crisp line, So, charge more, but do more. All right. Give these people something. And I used to go out and sell jobs for whatever I could get for them. Right. When my family was young, for me, it was, what do I have to pay this week? My car payments due, my rent's due, I gotta, what? And I would go out and yeah, I would probably do a $4,000 parking lot for $1,500 if it meant I could get all my bills paid. And if that's where you're still, if that's what you're still living in, then yeah, you do whatever you got to do to make ends meet. All right. But if you're starting to get a little going, and you got a little following now, and you're starting to stay a little busy, start throwing some higher numbers out there. Don't be afraid to just say, hey, that driveway that I used to do for $200, I'm going to charge $275 for it now. But I'm going to find a way to make it better, make it better than the $200 driveway. Whether it's you're adding something or, I mean, that's a good thing. That's a good thing to think of. What else? And I'd say last but not least is if you're doing driveways, you should be looking at a driveway and thinking to yourself, what is the homeowner expecting to pay to do this driveway? Okay? Because most of the time, you may give the homeowner a price and they may go, oh, I thought it was going to be a lot more than that. That happened to me in the beginning a lot more than not. But then again, I was an idiot because this is 20 years ago. I was running around. The price, per square foot was 10 cents a square foot. And my dumb ass is out there, measuring up 1,000 square foot driveways and saying, well, $98, and showing up and doing them for $98. And, it wasn't until I got a little older and I realized, what's my time away from my kids worth? My kids were small, and that's what really made me start charging more money. Was I started to realize how much I was away from my kids, and if I was going to be away from my kids, then I was going to get decent money to be away from my kids. But I also thought of my kids and thought, if I'm not going to be with my kids, the least I can do is a good job, because I don't want to not spend time with my kids and then go out and do crap work, because in my weird brain, that's me like dishonoring my children's honor, So, yeah. And then I started charging more money. So again, let's go over this. Let's start at the top. You're charging whatever you need to charge to survive. That's number one. All right. Now, if you're established and you got a little something going on, then you start playing with your prices a little bit. Try offering more to the customer and more for return for money. All right. And then if you're at the place where, you got your own spray rig, you're starting to bid bigger jobs. Now I want you to get out of that whole mindset of, you're charging by the square foot or you're charging by the linear foot on cracks. Now you're charging by the square foot as a job. All right. And you're going to treat that job like it's its own square foot. And you're going to come up with a price that's better than you would have gotten had you broken it down by seal coating, crack filling, line striping. And if you want, you can try this. Take a measurement, Measurement Pro app or something, Google Earth, and measure a parking lot. All right. And then play with the price per square foot, the price for linear foot on cracks, and the price per line. All right. And then take a price that's a little over double of your, let's say it's 10 cents a square foot, and you have 1,000 feet of crack at 70 cents a linear foot, and then you got $500 worth of paint. All right. So you got a 10,000. So let's say you got a $2,500 parking lot. If you're breaking it down into threes, take that same 10,000 square foot parking lot, but times it by 30 cents a square foot, and that same parking lot becomes $3,000. And the customer might look at it and go, well, these other estimates are set up because they're set up with everything itemized, and you tell them, look, most smaller companies do that. All right. But companies who handle big parking lots and who handle a majority of commercial work, this is how they price jobs. Because when you're doing a job like this, you need to treat every individual square foot like it's its own job. And whatever happens or falls within that square foot gets dealt with. All right. Their way leaves it open for interpretation. All right. So they don't have to fill certain cracks because it's not specified that they have to fill certain cracks. Right. Or maybe it's even in the language of their contract that they only have to fill cracks over 1/4 of an inch. Right. So that's open for interpretation. And if that's the way that you want to go, that's fine. That's fine. But this right here, you're paying a price per square foot. And yeah, at the end of the day, it is $500 more than what they're paying or what they're charging. But there's nothing open to interpretation. Everything within this square foot is going to get fixed. And every square foot out there will get fixed. Now, if you got a parking lot that's got a lot of cracks, then you got to be careful because this can come back to bite you in the ass. But if you're smart enough to charge accordingly, and I'll give you an example, we had a parking lot last season that was 30,000 square feet. Not that big. 2 parking lots, 15,000 in front. Then the building was in the middle, and then there was 15,000 in the back. Okay, this parking lot had a ton of cracks. And when the owner of the property called me, and was talking to me, his thing was, look, I got a lot of cracks in this parking lot. And the last time I paid to have this parking lot done, only some of the cracks got filled. And I knew exactly what he was talking about, but he wanted reassurance that every crack was going to be filled. And you know what? I said to him, I charge a price per square foot and everything with it, whether it's and there was cracks like you would not believe at this place. All right. Needless to say, between the seal coating, the line striping, and the crack filling, we got 40 grand for a 30,000 square foot parking lot. And that was because there was so much in crack filling. And the guy said to me, I don't want to see one crack when this job's done. I said, you won't find one single crack. And he didn't. All right. And sometimes that's what people want, because at the end of the day, crack filling is the only thing that saves the asphalt. Stopping water from permeating the base that's the only thing that stops it. So seal coating just makes things look nice. So I always tell people, if you're going to sell anything, sell crack filling. That's the only thing that's going to protect. Now, if you got to go out and sell crack filling, and you do want some kind of baseline price of how you can get into it or what you can expect, and I'll go through it for seal coating too. All right, seal coating per gallon will normally across the USA, the cash price is about $2.50 per gallon. That gallon will do 100 square feet. Give or take, but if you're spraying, it's 100 square feet, maybe a little bit more. If you're applying it with a squeegee, it's about 90, maybe even as low as 70, depending on how porous the asphalt is. All right, but you can figure it's about that. So that gives you an idea of what a gallon for $2.50, how far it'll go. All right, it'll do about 100 square feet. And if you have a job that's 1,000 square feet and you're charging $200, then it's going to cost you about $22 to do at that price. All right, crack filling, depending on where you are. If you're paying the cash price for rubber, it could be anywhere from 70 to 90 cents a pound, and that box of rubber, depending on the size of the cracks, will do different amounts. Obviously the smaller the thinner, but a box you can average between 100 and 400 linear feet. So if you're charging $1 a linear foot for cracks, and your box of crack is a 50-pound box, your 50-pound box will do 300 feet, then you're making $300 off of that $80 box of rubber. And then paint. Paint, that varies. Again, it varies on how wide you're putting it down. I mean, how the volume of the tip that you're using, the pressure that you're spraying it at, and that can go anywhere from, I've seen it go anywhere from $3 to $10 a line, and that bucket, 5-gallon bucket of paint, 5-gallon bucket of paint with a 319 will do anywhere from 70 to 90 spots, depending on, again, your pressure and how fast you're going. And so that bucket of paint, again, cash price for a good paint, it's going to run you about 80 bucks. So you got a bucket of paint that you can do 70 lines with at an average of $7 a line. That's $490 on a, I'm sorry, $7 a line. Yeah, $7 a line out of a 5-gallon bucket of paint. You can do 70 lines. It's $490. So you see that there's a big margin to be made in all of this, and upselling's a good thing too, but don't upsell to upsell. Go to a customer's house, and if you see green algae or moss growing on the driveway, don't try to use a wire brush to get it off. Power wash it. Sell them power washing. If you see oil stains, same thing. Volunteer to clean those oil stains. On driveways, we tend to be expensive on our driveways, so we just throw the crack filling in, and anything extra, everything's just included in the price. But yeah, I mean, you need to get what your time is worth. Again, pricing is all relative to where you live, how far you got to go for material, what you're paying for material, what's the demand. If you're in an area where you're the only seal coating guy, you can pretty much charge whatever you want. But if you're in an area like me where there are 50 companies between here and the next 3 towns over, then you got to try to be competitive. So again, if you guys have any questions, or if there's something that I forgot to talk about, then please leave a comment, and I will make a follow-up or something like that. Again, just wanted to try to answer some questions, and I hope I was able to do so. Thanks. Bye.